Did he send an update? He's coming in? He might be coming in.
Okay, I'll change the camera to come. Remind me to change the camera. I'm turning this thing back on. Where's the button to turn this back on? Okay, there we go.
This is Dr. Cavill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show. Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Welcome and thanks for joining us for the only weekly sports talk radio show that is dedicated to exploring the sporting HBCU diaspora with its unique cultural identity, including the teams, the bands, coaches, athletic directors, classics, and football homecoming events, as well as the sport management business practices in the competitive sports industry. This show seeks to provide innovative, progressive, and informative dialogue about the week's HBCU sporting events, issues, and ideas from a fan's perspective. We look at the Southwestern Athletic Conference, better known as the SWAC, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, better known as the MEAC of the NCAA Division I. We look at the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, SIAC, the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, the CIAA, of the NCAA Division II Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, GCAC, of the NAIA programs, as well as independent programs such as Tennessee State of the OVC, and as well as Langston, part of the Central State Football League. Yeah, we'll give you an update on Langston. They got that big victory.
Yeah.
And I see Chad Jones is on here. How about those Tigers? Yeah, they put a whooping on All-Four State. Showed enough. Running folks out of town. They look like they on a collision course to the Celebration Bowl with North Carolina A&T. That's what it's looking like.
Yes,
yeah, Chad Jones got on as soon as the thing went. Let's go. Let's talk about my Tigers. I hear you, Chad. Good job. But let's give some HBCU sporting news updates. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Charles.
Sure thing. We'll start off in the MEAC Offensive Player of the Week is Marcus Taylor. Marcus Taylor, he had 8 catches for 132 yards in Norfolk State's upset over North Carolina Central this past weekend. He had a career best against number 25 North Carolina Central, and he had a 42-yard swing pass he caught in the second quarter and a 58-yard catch and run to help Norfolk State keep a lead en route to his second straight 100-yard receiving game. And the Defensive Player of the Week in the MEAC also came from Norfolk State. That was Anthony Smith. He is a 6', 230-pound senior from Norfolk. He had 18 tackles in that game, 2 interceptions, and a forced fumble as the Spartans knocked off North Carolina Central. We take a look now at the Players of the Week in the SWAC, as I get that pulled up for you real quick, Doc.
Good job. You know we got to give some love to the MEAC.
Got to.
They gonna put us out of here. We don't keep doing
And that's why I started off this week with the MEAC. As we switch over now to the SWAC, Offensive Player of the Week is quarterback, senior from Dallas, Texas, Grambling State's Devontae Kincaid. He went 17 of 26 for 268 yards and a couple of touchdowns in Grambling's 41-14 rout of Alcorn. Defensive Player of the Week, Darius Christmas. He is a junior linebacker from Vicksburg, Mississippi. Christmas had a huge defensive game for the Tigers as he racked up a game-high 14 tackles, 7 solo and 7 assisted, including 1 sack for a loss of 8. He also added 1 forced fumble and 1 quarterback hurry. Newcomer of the week was Kendall Catalan. He is a freshman from Mansfield, Texas. And Catalan scored on a 4-yard rush to give Southern a 20-10 advantage over Jackson State. He added an 8-yard reception in Southern's eventual 35-17 victory over the Jackson State Tigers.
Oh, let's just get into your Jackson State Tigers. Let's not further ado, and then we're going to get into some of the big-time matchups, teams that are winning. Mm-hmm. But we're going to go in the opposite direction. We're going to let you jump right on it. Big matchup with Southern. Didn't go the way that the Jackson State Tigers wanted to go. What are your thoughts?
You got 2 programs that are definitely going in completely different directions. Southern, I think they're ascending. I liked a lot of things that Southern was doing against Jackson State. Jackson State's on 7. They're going a complete different direction. And you know
you're pretty calm about that.
You have to be, you have to be kind of calm about it because I see where they get. I see the issues and whatnot, and right now they're
just a very level-headed person.
I try to be, but Jackson State really just not
very good.
Not very good.
I can say it. You don't have to.
Yeah,
not very good.
And the thing is, they started off with a lot of energy. They jumped out on Southern 7-0. And they played them pretty tough in the first half, but you just kind of got a sense that they just were not in the same league with Southern. But I'll tell you this:
is it depth? Is it players generally? Just
I think they're
coaching.
I think
you
coaching,
got to ask those tough questions.
Yeah, it's a component of a lot of things. I think coaching, number one. I think they're just not responding, and I think once they get down, you see the body language, and they just know they're not going to get back in there. They made a switch at offensive coordinator this past week and provided a little bit of a spark, but they just really don't have enough quote-unquote bullets in the chamber to really, go forward this upcoming season. Mississippi Valley is licking their chops right now.
I'm going to let people see your face as you that frown on your face. Make sure
it's
people...
It's tough. But on another note, and I have to say this about this game, there was an hour and a half long delay, a rain delay, and these two bands, Sonic Boom of the South and Human Jukebox, oh my goodness.
Give them credit.
And they really have a UNC Duke, Michigan, Ohio State thing going.
Yeah.
Because the PA announcer had to tell them you're gonna have to find safety. It's lightning all around. It's a torrential rainstorm.
It's not lawful for you to be in the state.
Right. And we're
going to have to lock you up. You got to go.
Steady blowing on each other.
So don't worry about it.
So, and then the halftime performances.
This is the way I want to go out.
Lightning at all. I mean, the halftime performances, they both poked a thumb in the eye, if you will, at some shortcomings and whatnot. Jackson State with a little incident in Charlotte. Of course, Southern had to bring that up. And Jackson State went to the video board and showed on the jumbotron showed some band mishaps, if you will. So, but it's all in good fun. It was fun stuff. I enjoyed it. Kudos to Southern Jag Nation again. They do what they do. They came to Jackson this weekend, but concerning for Jackson State fans, only 14,000 fans in terms of the official attendance at that Southern Jackson State game.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
If we're going to get into that game, I don't necessarily see it as an upset, if you would, but I think it was shock in a lot of ways between Grambling and Alcorn, and then we'll get into another shock, Norfolk State and North Carolina Central. I think this was certainly a shock. Let's see. We got John Grant.
Yes.
Yes, good to have you, Mr. John Grant. Right on time.
Thank you, guys. How you doing?
Doing well. For those that do not recognize the voice or the name, this is the executive director of the ESPN Celebration Bowl. For those that don't know, obviously you haven't been listening to this show. That is the game that features the champion of the SWAC versus the champion of the MEAC. It is a bowl game. It actually opens up the bowl season for the last couple of years. It's my understanding that's going to happen again. And so it's been a great event. I've been to the last two events. You've been there. Mike's been in there. But without further ado, let's turn it over to John Grant. How you doing?
I'm fantastic, guys. Thank you for having us on again. Dr. Cavell, you've always been a supporter of this bowl game. I want you to know how much we appreciate you.
I appreciate that. Look at it. We go. Let's record it.
I see. We get the kudos already.
That's all right. That's all right. I appreciate you in all seriousness. Tell us a little bit of excitement. We are at the midway point. As you know, I'm a professor in real life, as they say. So I teach a college class, and at this time of the year, not only do you have a lot of homecomings going on, but you also have midterm semester, midterm grades, mid-exams, and all that. So we're at a perfect juncture when you start talking about celebration, because you start to see people starting to separate themselves. And as in our business, we're talking about those championship teams starting to separate yourself. Mm-hmm. So what is the excitement about the Celebration Bowl going on right now?
Well, you just mentioned it. The teams are beginning to, the season is really shaping up. The teams are separating themselves. We had one big upset this past weekend, and certainly another one game that was must win for two of the schools in the SWAC between Grambling and Alcorn. And so now that put the pressure in the SWAC now has really sort of swung over to Alcorn in terms of what they'll be able to do for the rest of the season. And certainly it looks like they may end up representing the East of the West, I'm sorry. Is that right?
Yeah, Grambling is in the West, and they're in a very solid position. The way I kind of lined it out is I think we had a short talk as we were lining up this interview, and I said if you had an SUV, you would put Grambling in the driver's seat. You could put the Alcorn Braves, they would be in the passenger seat because they still are in solid control of the East. Obviously, this makes it a little more interesting with the stuff lost. And then in the back seat, you have Southern sitting up there tapping on Gramblin's shoulder, saying they want to drive. And then you had Alabama A&M Bulldogs back there behind Alcorn tapping on the shoulder, talking about not so fast, my friend.
Exactly.
And then an SUV, you got 6 seats. So we got 2 more back there. So you got Prairie View talking about, hey, they trying to find a way to get back to the front. So they just sit up there waiting and sitting back there shaking their heads and stuff like that. And then we're finding out that we're not sure if there's even somebody in the 6th seat. We'll talk about that a little later. What's going on in the SWAC. But that's what's interesting. And then the MEAC driver's seat, I'd have to say, is North Carolina A&T. Passenger side, there's a couple of teams with 1 loss. So people are fighting for that seat. Earlier it was North Carolina Central, tough. Lost this weekend against Norfolk State, so they're right in the mix. You have to look at Bethune-Cookman. Yeah, that was a tough loss. Right. Snapped their streak in the MEAC. I agree with you. That was exciting.
Of the win streak that North Carolina Central had at home, you're talking about an 18-game win streak. And you think about that.
That's crazy.
These teams play 4 games at home per season. And if you got to have an 18-game win streak, you have not lost at home in over 4 years.
Exactly. That's a great point, Mr. Grant. Great point.
And so that I think was really a shock. But Norfolk State is a sleeper out there. I mean, they had a tough loss against Hampton last week.
Good, great point.
But there's still, as you were laying it out there in terms of who's in what seat, there's still some opportunity out there on the MEAC side as well.
I agree with you. So, what can people purchase tickets at this time?
Absolutely. You can go to thecelebrationbowl.com. Tickets are on sale, and I'll tell you, if you need to go and get them now. The Mercedes-Benz Stadium is going to be an outstanding experience, and we see a lot of the prime seats are moving very rapidly. So you want to make sure you're in the building for the inaugural bowl game that will be played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and it's going to be a luxury experience for all the fans. So now is the time to get in and get your tickets now, because we know what's going to happen as it really shapes up and it gets closer to identify to who will come. Tickets are going to move even faster as it generally does as you get closer to the game.
Certainly.
So we're tagging this one as the Battle in the Bend.
Like that brand.
I like that. Good job. My students would be proud.
Exactly.
HBCU heavyweight conferences are coming into this year's bowl game tied. MEAC 1, year 1, SWAC 1, year 2. So this is like Ali Frazier, the Thrill in Manila. But this is SWAC and MEAC battling in the Bend. For the tiebreaker for the national championship for HBCU football. Which conferences will take the trophy home?
Certainly. A lot of people are not just excited about what goes on the field, because the last 2 years the games have been exciting. People have gotten into it. But what are some of the events surrounding the game?
Oh, this year is going to be very exciting for us. Obviously, we're focusing on for us, the College Football Awards Show will actually kick off this season in Atlanta, and that's on December the 8th. Okay. And that's like the Oscars of college football.
Yeah.
That's all of the major awards for college football, with the exception of the Heisman. We moved that event, ESPN did, out of Orlando to Atlanta 2 years ago, and I'll tell you, it is a staple event. And it's really a kickoff to the season, and the Celebration Bowl is a part of that weekend. And then, of course, we have all the events that are set up for our teams and their arrivals, welcome dinners. This year we have something called the Champion Circle that'll be on Thursday night that's open to the public.
Okay.
Where we're going to bring in partnership with the Black College Football Hall of Fame, their inductees that will come in February, but this will be their first public appearance. We're also bringing in this year their 4 finalists for the Deacon Jones Award, Player of the Year. We'll have those players on hand, and it'll be their first public appearance as well.
Nice.
As they go down towards February to determine who will be the Black College Football Hall of Fame Player of the Year. And certainly there are conferences going on. You have one that we're excited to host here in Atlanta. The NFL is a part of us again this year with some workshops. And we have several events at local clubs and bars and restaurants around the city that are going to be happening on Thursday and Friday night. So a full weekend that we have, for fans who are coming into Atlanta.
Certainly, for me, it's a must-attend event.
Exactly.
Plenty to do for different groups of people, different ages of people, different interests of people, plenty to do, but follow up with some questions.
Well, I think, Mr. Grant, I wanted to ask, this is, of course, the inaugural year for the Mercedes-Benz Dome, but just talk about moving the Celebration Bowl from a previous venue to moving it to the Mercedes-Benz Dome. Talk about the venue itself.
Let me tell you, it's night and day. The Georgia Dome was a great venue.
Yes, it was.
Let me say it was a great venue. It served, the Falcons and the city and sports in Atlanta for over 20 years. But it's almost like comparing a Cadillac to a Bentley. And Mercedes-Benz Stadium is, without question, a luxury venue. It is the Bentley, I will call it, of venues. This place has been it has been outstanding in its showing so far.
Okay.
With the Atlanta United, our soccer team, with the Atlanta Falcons, fans have given it nothing but rave reviews, and we can't wait to have the Celebration Bowl make it available to our fans in the SWAC and the MEAC conferences to come and experience this type of venue with with a championship bowl game. It's going to be unbelievable. You don't want to miss it.
That's awesome.
So the road to the championship. Any events going on as we kind of get closer that people may want to keep their eyes on?
Well, our trophy is on tour. This weekend, we're going to be down at the Magic City Classic. The Celebration Bowl Trophy Tour is presented by Coca-Cola and Gildan. And so we'll be down at Magic City this weekend. We're going to also be stopping on another SWAC stop later on, and that's down at the Bayou Classic.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense.
And then the last stop for the trophy before it comes back to Atlanta is going to be in Houston at the SWAC Championship, and we're proud to bring it there. Since this year is going to be an important year for the SWAC Championship, as it's the last game for to be played this year. So we're happy to have the Celebration Bowl trophy there, and to be able to see who's going to come out of Houston in pursuit of that coveted piece of hardware.
Yeah, and again, in a lot of ways, this game, the way the records are going, obviously things could change, but you're featuring championship-level teams. Teams are going to put their footprint on a national black college championship in a lot of ways, too. That's really amazing how you all were able to put that together in regards to bringing the champions of each league to frame it in that.
Yeah, and what's really exciting to me is that we have the opportunity to showcase some great players in both conferences. You got some, and they've elevated their play every week.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can showcase those players, put them on a national stage, use our assets like the Undefeated and ESPN.com and SportsCenter
Great work.
To really put them out there, and then not only that, during our televised game, so that the country can really get to see that, there are great players in the SWAC and the MEAC conferences. It's like those silent voices that you've never heard, but we're going to make sure that that they're being heard. And the SWAC has some tremendous play going on across the board from all of the institutions, and we're just excited to showcase it.
Certainly, in a lot of ways, it seems that was part of Tariq Cohen, as we now see what he's doing with the Chicago Bears, but it put him in that position to get more limelight where people started looking once, twice, three times, and then look what goes on with the draft when you get a chance to really get the eyeballs, in particular go in a little deeper on the players. Anything that we didn't ask you that you want to point out, John?
No, I think you guys have always been great. We just, again, because, this game is an important game to HBCUs in both conferences and HBCUs in general. It's the fan support that makes it work. So what we've attempted to do, and we're going to do this year with the Celebration Bowl, and with that spectacular venue and the partners that we have, is to assure that fans have a world-class experience that they can't get at any other game that they attend. It will happen here in Mercedes. And you want to be there for the battle in the bins.
Battle in the bin. Yes, I will be there. You need to be there with me. I appreciate you, John. And as we say, as we usually sign off, we tend to give the mascot all the teams. So in this case, we're just going to say Go Celebration Bowl.
Go Celebration Bowl.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. We'll get you back in a couple of weeks to give us some more updates.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care. Another intriguing, as it gets interesting, as we kind of line up, we talked about midterm. Mm-hmm. You want to give some grades out there?
Well, I think when you take a look at, we'll start in the SWAC. And Grambling, I'll be very honest, I was surprised because they lost a lot of pieces from that championship team last year. But the main pieces, Devontae Kincaid, the Martez Carter, they showed up and showed out. I think Grambling definitively has an A here at midterms. And if you look over on the MEAC side of the ball, I didn't know what to expect from North Carolina A&T.
A plus.
A plus. A plus.
You undefeated. Yeah. FBS win, no question.
Yes, exactly.
A plus win. So on the other side,
Chad, hey, I told you. Yeah, every Grambling fan told me. I got you.
Chad, you got to quit doing a man like that. So on the other side, who is in trouble? Who is in trouble of not getting out of this class and having to repeat? If they're freshmen, they might not make it back to the second semester.
I'll go up to the OVC. I'm very surprised at Tennessee State. Another loss this past weekend, but Tennessee State on paper going into the season, I looked at everything they had, and I feel they were loaded in terms of preseason OVC selections and what they normally bring back on the offensive line, but they've had trouble out of their quarterback play. Treon Harris transferring in from Florida hadn't panned out the way that they were hoping. I definitively Tennessee State D-.
Who's your most disappointing team in the MEAC?
My most disappointing team in the MEAC, I think, would be Norfolk State, although they got a win. But Norfolk, I really was expecting Norfolk to be the Hampton. You know, so Hampton has really
your surprise team.
My surprise team in the MEAC.
The ones that you expected, but a little more surprised because they're living up to the expectation.
They're living up to the expectation.
Where you were concerned.
And you had a lot of teams, I think, that were clustered right behind Central and A&T. And I was really kind of expecting Norfolk to be to really run with A&T and Central.
Let's jump into the SWAC.
Mm-hmm.
You gave your grade an A to Grambling. Mm-hmm. In regards to what's going on, what disappointing team?
Well, obviously, I think a disappointing team for me is Jackson State, 0-7. Now, playing over on the eastern side of the ball, I really expected them to be much more of a challenge to Alcorn. I thought they had the defensive line, and the defense could carry the day until the offense caught up, and it's gone in the complete opposite direction. Defensive line for Jackson State has been an abject disappointment, only 9 sacks on the season. Defensive tackle Deion Pope suspended indefinitely, and it just hadn't got done.
SWAC less than a sack again. Over a sack again.
SWAC preseason SWAC Defensive Player of the Year He's only 7th on the team in tackles, and he only is credited for a half sack. That's just disappointing. So that Jackson State, definitely an F. Southern, I would say B+. They're tapping on the shoulder, so they're right there.
So who's your biggest surprise? Southern, I think, is a good grade. B, I think they're in some ways above where people thought they would be. Thought they'd be in the mix. Tough loss to Auburn, but they bounced back, solid wins. But who is your most surprised team?
Alabama A&M. Defensively, they get after the quarterback. They lead the conference in sacks. So Alabama A&M going down the stretch, they're going to be a dangerous team. They get any offense, they could be a team that you really have to keep your eye out on, because when you are able to play a little bit of defense, it cancels out it hides a lot of mistakes. So.
Now watch this. I'm going to show off a little bit and see if he really knows his HBCU sports. Check this out, Chad. We're going to go into the CIAA. Who is your surprise team of the CIAA? This could be a little tough.
Yeah.
Because you can go in a couple of different directions for different reasons.
I was about to say.
So I'm intrigued to see where.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit surprised with Winston-Salem State. I wasn't expecting them.
Chad said they were missing lots of pieces due to injuries in the first 5 games. Yeah, why you couldn't wait to 6?
Oh boy, Grambling fam, you gotta love Graham fam. I tell you what. But Winston-Salem State, I think, is surprising to me, because I did not expect them to struggle like they have. So that's probably my surprise.
Disappointed?
I'm more disappointed in Winston-Salem State in terms of
Who get your A in?
I think my A definitely has to go to Bowie State.
You give it an A to Bowie State?
I still give an A to Bowie State.
Virginia State?
Virginia State,
A
Trent
plus?
Cannon. Well, they would get an A+. Okay. Trent Cannon.
If you don't grade like that, I had to check to see where your A and A+ was.
Virginia State with their the way they can run the ball. Trent Cannon, another 200-yard plus performance this past weekend. And they beat Bowie State. So
Virginia Union, where are they in the mix?
Virginia Union is at a solid B.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say B-.
Okay.
That B-. I think they are grading a little higher than what people are in the mix. Tough loss this past weekend, where they were going into B+, maybe A- territory.
Yeah.
Didn't do too well on the midterm. So dropped them a little bit, B- out of the mix. So let's go into the SIAC. Show off a little more here. SIAC. A+, A. Anybody gets an A, A+, no A+, A?
I don't know if there's A+ in the CA.
No, I don't think there's an A+. Any A's?
I'm not sure there are any A's.
I want to hear your surprise team, because I got one for you if you don't get it.
My surprise team?
Wait until I tell you.
I
You want me to throw it out there?
I'm shading a little bit towards Clark.
Nah. Great win this past weekend. That's why you're talking about.
That's what
huge
out.
Albany State
Jonathan
win.
McCrary, yeah.
No team get with. No, your big surprise team, Benedict Tigers, 5-2, 3-1.
That's a good call. Benedict.
Give me my money. Tell me I ain't a bad man. I told you I was gonna have to show out.
I can go with Benedict on that. That's a good call, because Benedict they're just flying right under the radar over there, and all of a sudden you're not even noticing those little surprise wins that they're coming up with.
If Fort Valley didn't do as well in the non-conference,
yeah, they
would have had a chance to make an argument for that. They're sitting at 4-3, 4-0, solid in terms of conference. Going to really go down. It's going to be interesting. The Benedict game, Albany State game, those came up. It's going to really get some intriguing matchups as we get it there in terms of matchup. Going out to the NIA, kind of give it away when I say that. A+ obviously to Langston.
Huge.
Big win over Arizona Christian. They take command of the Central State Football League. Finally got over the hump over the last 2 years.
Right.
Won 21-20 homecoming. Set everything up, and they delivered. Really in a good position to get that homecoming. Get that playoff bid now, and close up on the conference championship. A+ for them. Not necessarily a surprise, as we would put it, but the fact that they finally get the victory gets them in that A+ range. Let me give some shout-outs before we get back to it and talk about the poll rankings a little bit here and see how that matches up with some of our grades and get your thoughts on that. Give a shout-out to Mike E. He's on there. Chad Jones, he's getting in there, giving us some mix. Ty Ward in the mix here. Jimmy Wilson, I see you. Appreciate you. Carlos Brown in the mix. He hadn't said anything about the Jack State Tigers yet. I guess he done rubbed it in on the text already.
We had a good time.
Yeah, shout out. Good job on the broadcast, Carlos Brown. Remote broadcast bringing you in to get something that can't go. Chad Jones said he booked his tickets to ATL. He don't know what y'all talking about. All this front seat driving, back seat. He say hotel book, plane ticket. Come on, Chad. You got to play a championship game first. He say no worries.
All right, Chad. We gonna
Aaron
find
Claiborne.
it if it doesn't happen.
There you go. Michael D. Jones, Donald Gay, my department chair, Dr. Dawala Fisher. Appreciate you, Doc. Everything you do for the students and for our department. Wonderful job, chairperson, getting it done. One of the best in the business, I would say that. I've got a chance to work with a lot of chairs across the department. She's getting it done in multiple ways. Thomas White, I see you, Thomas White Jr., get on here. Britt Sloan, one of my students, still hanging in there with me back in the day from Houston, Can. See you doing well. Good to see you. Dennis Ellis, the band man over the North Carolina Central Eagles. He will give you all the information you need on the bands out of the MEAC, particularly with the Eagles. He knows the band business like our colleagues on the SWAC side. Yeah. He knows it for the MEAC. That's He's awesome. Into it. He gets it done. Derek Bowens, Gerald Rideau. I see you, Gerald. Appreciate you getting in there. Hope all's well. We'll see you in a couple of days homecoming. I'm not going to tell everybody when I'm getting down there because they'll find the RV. Keith Benton. Keith Benton is always in the mix, always showing support. Appreciate you, Keith. And Christopher Earl. Herbert Bolden was the first one to sign on. Appreciate you. What's up, Herbert?
Hey, I do want to mention before we go into the rankings and whatnot, but Mississippi Valley State, huge homecoming win this past weekend, but they did a great thing. They invited back a lot of their players from the 1984 team, Jerry Rice, of course, Willie Totten, the 1984 team that played Alcorn this past weekend, had a celebration for them, and I definitely wanted to make mention of it because that game is probably one of the most dynamic games, I think, in the state of Mississippi, and it was one that as an 11-year-old child I was in and had an indelible impression for the rest of my life. So I definitely wanted to make mention
for good reason too. So I'm glad you put that out there. Chad and Keith Benton going at it. I like this kind of conversation. Anthony Mullins is number 8, defensive end, 6'4", 270, transferred from Mississippi State. Boy, I tell you.
Love them transfers.
All I know is they know how to win.
They know how to win. I give it up to them.
Somebody need to chop a knee down or something. Get some new blood in the mix, boy. Grambling G is back in the business, looking at back-to-back as the Braves did that a couple of years ago. Should be interesting. Can the Braves get back in the mix and defend that? I don't know. But let's look at this mid-major before we move forward and we get back into some conversation about some of the big games this past weekend. We kind of teased people with it in terms of the Norfolk victory over North Carolina Central. We'll get into that. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the way Grambling literally dominated the Braves. That surprised most people, except for probably the Grambling fans, they would say up there. Charlie Harps Jr. is on. Talking about that mix there. But number 10, Fort Valley State Wildcats. They were not ranked. They jump in the polls 4-3, 4-0. Bringing us to number 9, Winston-Salem State, the Rams, 5-3, 3-2. Stay at number 9. They got the win after they fell down early. They need that if they're going to stay in the mix. It's going to be a tight mix to see if they can get out of that southern division of the CIAA. I'm not sure this year if it matters the way the northern two teams are playing, Virginia State, Bowie State. I can't see it. At number 8, Virginia Union Panthers, tough loss to Bowie State. They bounced back in a big style. Really played solid in the game and let Virginia Union Panthers know not quite yet. 5-3, 4-1. They dropped 2 spots with their loss. At number 7, Miles Golden Bears, 5-3, 3-1. They move up a spot with a big-time win. They're still trying to chase Tuskegee to get it done. Bringing us to number 6, Albany State Golden Rams, 5-3, 3-1. We talked a little bit about this. They had a tough loss. They went to Clark Atlanta. Clark Atlanta's had homecoming, and Clark Atlanta got it done in that game. Boy, what a big win for Clark Atlanta.
Huge.
Fell back a little early, came back, jumped out, and held on to get it done. Literally, last play was the difference in that game. So Albany State Golden Rams slide down 2 spots to number 5. Bringing us to number 5. Talked about the surprise team, and they jump up to the top 5 as Benedict Tigers, 5-2, 3-1. They were ranked 7, so they move up 2 spots. This team is playing solid football, getting it done. We'll see as they get into some of the tougher games in terms of the Eastern Division of the SIAC. Bringing us to number 4, Tuskegee Golden Tigers, 6-2, 4-0. Looks like they're rolling a little bit again. They're number 4. They seem to put things together. They got over the hump with that big comeback win to Morehouse, but they're really solid. They got some revenge against Kentucky State, getting that game back against the Thoroughbreds. Bringing us to number 3. You know it's a tough year when you're number 3 and you're sitting at 7-1, 4-1 in the conference. The Bulldogs did. Bringing us to number 2, we talked about Langston Lions. 4 first-place votes, taking 1 away from Bowie State Bulldogs. They're 7-0 overall, 5-0. One of only 3 HBCU programs undefeated, 1 of 2 in the mid-major division. Remaining at number 2 because the tough teams above them that's also undefeated. 7-0, 5-0, the Virginia State Trojans, 6 first-place votes. These 2 teams are getting it done in terms of being undefeated. These top 3-4 teams really playing some good football. What are your thoughts on the poll rankings this week? Any concerns?
Well, the Tuskegee Kentucky State game, that one jumped out at me. Hydrick Lowe, 269 yards rushing in that game. And like you said, they got a little bit of revenge on Kentucky State for putting the kibosh on the season last year. Benedict, I was going to mess with you. I think you brought them a little good luck. You know, the visit to the Benedict Tigers.
Yeah, I went down there last spring and set it up, and things are going well. That's for sure now. I even got a cap. Might have to bring my cap back out. They keep winning like this. Give some shout-outs to the folks getting it done over there. We're going to end up taking, we're going to hold on and keep going. We're going to get into some Big Band announcements and give you some updates there. But let's talk a little bit about that North Carolina Central Eagles game in Norfolk State. Norfolk State went on the road to get that victory.
Yeah.
Jumped out 21-7 and were able to hold on 28-21. That's a big win.
That's a huge win for Norfolk. And the way it had been trending for North Carolina Central, I thought their young quarterback was starting to get a little bit of confidence. He had a 300-yard game last week. And for Norfolk to go into Central and get this victory, that was huge for the Norfolk State program. You're talking about an 18-game winning streak, and you get it done in the Eagles' nest, if you will. Speaks volumes for Norfolk State. So.
Certainly, you just know coaches are tough. I don't want to get into too much of the private business, but I was fortunate to text Coach Latrell Scott and let him know great road win. Stop the streak of the Eagles, big win. He said he responded, needed to win. I say, yes, sir, keep building. No doubt. Man, it's tough out there.
That's tough.
That's pretty good.
Coaches are hard.
So let's jump back into the SWAC. Let's go in and talk about this Grambling-Alcorn State game and the fact that Grambling dominated the game. The other part that I think a lot of people are looking at also is the fact that Footman went out in the second quarter and did not come back for the game. Obviously, the game got away, so it might have been one of those situations that, hey, let's hold him out just to be careful. A lot of people are looking to see what's going on there. Any updates or any thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't heard from an update with regards to Footman's status this upcoming week, but obviously Lenoris Footman is one of the more dynamic players in the SWAC, and your team is just going to take on a different look when he's not in there. He has become a passing threat this season. I don't think we could have said that before this season. We knew he could hurt you with his legs, but not so much with his arms. But he is doing it with the balanced attack, if you will, throwing and passing. Noah Johnson is a good quarterback, but he's not Lenoris Footman. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on this Alcorn team going forward. But they can run the ball with DeLance Turner. I don't think it'll hurt Alcorn too much in the East, but I don't know. Alabama A&M, they do play a little defense. So.
They certainly play some defense. I think the toughest part of the Bulldogs and what may give the Braves the edge and why you have probably had a hesitation is the fact the game indeed is in Braves country, which significantly makes a lot of difference. This is starting to become redundant. Hey, but kudos to players that continue to get it done. Let's go into the Ben L. Calvert HBCU Football Award Weekly Honors as we look what's taking place here. Big-time game by Devontae Kincaid. Grambling State Tigers quarterback Devontae Kincaid had another outstanding game. against the Alcorn State Braves. He threw for 268 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Kincaid not only had yards through the air, but also on the ground. He ran for 15 yards and a touchdown to sneak in that way as well. The Tigers literally routed the Braves in a rematch of the SWAC championship game. In this case, Devontae Kincaid had a great deal to do about it. Grambling State defensive back Kendall Hill played a great game against the Alcorn State Braves. He had 6 tackles for the game, which was his 3rd on the team. He also led the team in pass breakups with 2. The Tigers defense only gave up 14 points in the Braves offense. Grambling State kicker Mark Orozco was perfect. All of the field goals and extra points against Alcorn State, he connected on 5 extra points. They are also connected on 2 field goals, including 1 for 40 yards. A tremendous weapon when you not only have to worry about your extra point, but when you can kick field goals to add up those points, particularly with a team that is tough and they can score at will. The fact that they can also get you when they get deep in the territory and just kick a field goal when things are not going in the direction makes it tough. Remember, for the HBCU Football Award, as we do the weekly honors, and the one that is coming up for the actual to see who will take on the Big Ben Trophy on Wednesday, November the 29th, at the Sheridan Suites right here in the Galleria area. You have to be connected with the state of Texas, meaning you obviously have to play for HBCU, but outside of that, you either had to be born in the state of Texas, played in the high school state of Texas, played at a JUCO in the state of Texas, and went to a HBCU outside of state. You could do that, or obviously one in state, or you can be from out of state and play for one of the teams in the state. So all these players that we list here, which will be interesting for a lot of these Prairie View and Texas Southern fans, thinking about it, you got a Louisiana team, and Big Ben sweeps it like they did in the SWAC a couple of weeks ago. They sweep the Big Ben this week in regards to what they were able to get done, and that's because all of these players are connected with the state of Texas. Grambling gets it done when they go to Dallas. You have offense Devontae Kincaid. Everybody's familiar with him being out of Dallas, Texas, quarterback there. But defense, Kendall Hill, defensive back. He's out of Lamar, Texas. They have some talent in there. They found a way to get one out of there. And obviously special teams player Mark Orozco, kicker, Denton, Texas, getting it done for the Big Ben Players of the Week. Just wanted to give you an update there in terms of what was taking place. This is Devontae Kincaid's. This is his 3rd announcement as he continues just to stack it. I'm sorry. Let me make sure I get that correct. This is actually his 4th time.
Wow. This
is his 4th time because he has backed. He did it in week number 3, week number 5, and then he did it in week number 6 when he went back to back, and then again he skipped a week. And that's because they were off, and then he comes back and wins in week 8, Devontae Kincaid. So he's stamping that footprint. He asked very early, can I win it again? You keep playing like that. That's what I'm doing. It's going to be hard. It's going to be almost a no-brainer. We'll bring some other folks in to celebrate him. But everybody going to be like, yeah, that's it.
Wow. They say he took a week off. Well, they were off that week.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just how it's going. Tasha Black is getting in here, giving us some love. Appreciate you. So if you would, you have some national players of the week that you want to celebrate and talk about, giving them the Big Ben helmet sticker.
Sure. Helmet sticker this week goes to Jonathan McQuarrie. He's a quarterback from Clark. He went 28 of 46 for 357 yards and 5 touchdowns for the Clark Panthers. Also, for Morehouse, Kenneth Hagens, linebacker for Morehouse, he had 21 tackles this past week. He gets a huge helmet sticker for the Morehouse Maroon Tigers. And I also want to point out running back for Virginia State. We talked about him earlier, but Trick Cannon. He had another huge week for the Virginia State. He had 9 carries, 253 yards, 3 touchdowns. Helmet sticker also goes to Hodrick Lowe. He carried 13 times for 269 yards for the Tuskegee Golden Lions. I also want to point out quarterback Amir Hall for Bowie State. He went 25 of 44 for 386 yards and 3 touchdowns. And finally, huge helmet sticker to the Morehouse homecoming crowd. 26,789 for Spellhouse this weekend. And you saw all the pictures. There was a lot of people in Atlanta this weekend.
Yeah, Atlanta. We'll be there soon.
Got to.
We'll be there soon enough. We're going to make it live,
Yes,
ATL, they do know how to have a good time,
Yes, indeed.
particularly when it's surrounding HBCU sports. This is going back many years. And this is the fact that it's going to be interesting. Atlanta is really becoming a college place to be. We talked about the awards banquet, but then you have the MEAC SWAC Challenge. Looks like it's going to be played in Atlanta.
Awesome.
So we'll wait to see if we can get some confirmation on that. So Lawrence McCall, he's up there and checking it out, seeing what's going on. He's on here. That's the guy that does the introduction to the show. Tabby, as we call him in these parts. Appreciate you, Lawrence. Tabathon McCall, better known as Tabby.
For your contribution to the show every week.
Yes.
Bobbing my head.
Certainly, as we look into that, we'll get in there. All right, let's jump in here and get Coach Haywood on. Coach Mike Haywood?
Dr. Camille, what's going on?
I'm doing well. Got a week off. Now it's time to get back into business. And so...
Have to jump back in for that 5-game stretch.
Yes, big 5-game stretch, close out the season strong as you get to going, and a lot of people may not realize it, but part of that is traditionally 4-game of the season, but people may have forgot the Labor Day Classic has been moved to the end of the season. It's Thanksgiving weekend, so as you start to close out, you got the Southern game at home, and you got Prairie View game at home, so people still get out and watch some good Texas Southern Tiger football. But before we get into those matchups, I know how you do it, Coach. One game at a time. And this time you're hitting the road. You're going to Grambling. It's Grambling's homecoming. Let's break down that matchup and get into what's taking place in that matchup.
I think Grambling is an outstanding football team. I think the big advantage is that they play with confidence. They believe that they can win in every game in which they're going into. And they don't necessarily have to be the best team, but they believe that they can win, so they will themselves to win. It's really interesting against the game in which they played against Alcorn State. Alcorn moved the ball down the field, moved the ball all over the field. However, they move it down to the 1-yard line. They go in jet motion. They snap the ball, it hits the guy, ball's turned over. All right? So 7 points are taken off the board because they're running the football and doing a really good job.
Great point. 7 turnovers, and then costly when he gets in, taking points off the board.
Right. They hit a wide receiver on a switch move in which they made a switch. The defensive backs didn't zone it off appropriately. The guy's running down the middle of the field. He catches the ball. He trips on his own feet and gets caught. And then they don't score.
Yeah.
So points are taken off the board. They run a fake kick, they run a fake punt. When you run a fake punt, guys are overflowing, as Grambling does, because they're a fast flow team. Stay on the inside shoulder, kick him out, the guy go up inside. The guy goes outside, and the lineman that's going on the fake goes to his outside number, the guy pulls back in, makes a tackle. Alcorn State's 1 yard short of a first down on the fake punt. And so it's all those little things that matriculate into losing a football game. And because of the pressure and what Grambling put on him, they turned the ball over 7 times.
Wow.
Well, you can't win a game turning it over 7 times, and then
Care who you are.
Grambling's defense scored twice. They get 2 9 routes, which are streaks, for 2 touchdowns, and then they move the ball 2 times up the field, methodical drives, and then they end up scoring 41 points, 41-14, game over.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, I was going to ask you, Coach Haywood, I mean, we pay so much attention to Grambling's offense with Devontae Kincaid and Martez Carter, but talk a little bit about Grambling's defense. They're number 1 in the SWAC in total defense. They lead the conference in sacks. They lead the conference in interceptions. This Grambling defense really gives them their identity.
Grambling's defense is significantly better than their offense.
Wow.
And their offense is pretty potent. Don't get me wrong.
No, I understand that, because the reason I say wow, because going into season, while there was some things on offense people maybe questioned, really people thought there's a lot of pieces on the defense. So the ability to restack the defense, I think you're making an excellent point, that they have gelled and put that together, which gave the offense some time to kind of gel, and it looks like they're getting into gear. So I know exactly what you're talking about when you say that defense is very solid.
Like, they're plus 20 in turnover ratio.
Oh, that's unheard of.
Being plus 20 in turnover ratio means that the defense is getting turnovers and the offense isn't turning the football over.
Wow.
Right? At the same time, they have a great quarterback. It's a decision. When you talk about the best quarterbacks in the league, you have to say it's either Alcorn or it's Gremlin's quarterback, because those are the two best quarterbacks in the league. And then the tailback is outstanding. I mean, he's really a good football player. But then when you look at the defense, I mean, they're going to always put plus one more than you have in the box. So they're going to always have one more guy than you have to block, unless you're running the quarterback and then you need him. And so they do a tremendous job of just chasing the ball. It's not necessarily gap sound. It is that see ball, get ball, and we're chasing the ball. And I give Coach Boston credit. He's recruited, some 5'11" and 6'2" linebackers that weigh anywhere between 200 pounds to 220 pounds, but they just run to the football. And they do a nice job of running to the football, put pressure with the front four, and the front four is pretty good with some transfers in which they've had come in. They put pressure on the front four, but they don't have to blitz as much, and then they're able to cover in the back end. And so I give him credit. He's done a nice job of putting a pretty good team together, but their defense is outstanding.
Coach, when you take a look at kind of what you need to do this weekend against Grambling, I wanted to ask, what, I guess, can you, for lack of better words, find that weakness somewhere with this Grambling team? I mean, they've really done so well in the SWAC the past couple of years, but if there was somewhere where you thought that you kind of had an edge, what would that be?
Well, you have to create formations to create matchups. There's certain DBs in their program that govern, and certain DBs in the program that aren't as good as the others. So you have to create matchups. Which you get better wide receivers on their less fortunate defensive back. And as I talked to the team this morning, number one on defense, we can't give up the deep ball. I mean, because Alcorn State gave up 2 deep balls, which was 14 points. We can't give up 7 points on the deep ball. That's just not acceptable. Maybe a 9 route or a post route, we just can't give up that deep pass. Number 2, offensively, we cannot turn the football over on offense. We have to make sure that we don't turn the football over and that we're methodically moving the ball down the field. Special team-wise, we have to make sure that we're outstanding on special teams to win the special team battle. And any tricks that they may have, we have to make sure that they're successful. And any tricks that we may have, we have to make sure they are successful. And don't succumb to the pressure because the speed of the game, they try to create a sense of urgency with their speed of the game. We just have to play our game and stay focused and try to put 4 quarters together on offense. I think our defense will do a really good job against them. We have a lot of things to match up. We just can't give up the deep ball.
Certainly. You kind of broke down the game there, so I wanted to ask a little bit about practice. Are there some things that you can do uniquely in practice that allows you to work on those things that you talked about that you need to do to be successful against Grambling outside of what you normally do?
Well, Grambling is a running play action team, and then that drop back and throw the deep ball. Well, one of the things that we're working on, and that we're working on a lot of, not only are we going against Grambling's offense, in practice, but we have a period that we go against each other, offense and defense, and it's called running play action pass. And it's a period in which we can work on our run game, which is quite similar to the plays in which Grambling runs. So we can work on our run games and block up different fronts that we may see, and then we can also work on our play action and then work on the deep ball. Also, at the end of practice, we have a period where we team up, wide receivers and DBs and quarterbacks. We team up, and for a 7-minute period, all we do is run deep ball routes. We run 9 cuts, we run 7 cuts, we run 6 cuts. We're running anything that is deep. Making sure that our defensive backs and our wide receivers work their technique on the routes.
I like it.
And the defensive backs work their technique in covering and making sure that we overemphasize we have to win the game with the deep ball, and then we have to make sure that we don't lose the game with the deep ball.
Yeah, I appreciate that breakdown, taking us inside of not just in some ways the game plan, but really the practice scenarios you look at in regards to what Texas Southern needs to be successful in this game. With that, Coach, we're excited about getting down there and checking out the Tigers, and we look forward for you to call next week as we get back into analyzing what took place in that game and then the following week as you get into it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show, and then go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Yes.
Thank you, Coach. Hello, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Coach Simmons, how's it going?
Oh, going good, Doc. Sorry about the delay.
No, I understand it's homecoming week. You already out there having some homecoming fun.
You got to prepare for Bacone, exactly.
No, we're not going to do you like that, Coach. We know you seriously out there working. And you had this week off, this first weekend you had in a long series of games this season. Tell us a little bit about this week off as we get in and start talking about the matchup against Bacone, which many people won't have good information on, so we can really kind of dissect them.
Well, again, I thought the bye week came at a really critical time for us. We had a grueling 6-week schedule. Like I said, playing 3 FCS top 25 teams to start the season, playing Alcorn, who's a 3-time Eastern Divisional champ. They're all within our first 6 games, back-to-back weeks. So, of course, naturally, when you play that type of competition, our guys were beat up physically and mentally. Again, we didn't come out on the winning end of a lot of those games, but, I thought we did some really good things. But, I thought the bye week came at a time to give us a chance to kind of just unwind a little bit, do a really good job of self-scouting ourselves to figure out what we've done well the first half of the season, what we need to do better to improve upon for the rest of the season. Gave our guys a chance, our student athletes a chance to really get caught up academically, which is always important. The most important thing, actually, so gave them a chance to make up a lot of work. Of course, they miss a lot of classes on those Fridays where we're traveling. So, again, gave them a chance. Midterms were last week, so hopefully it gave the guys a chance to study a little bit longer and perform well on midterm grades. It also gave our young guys, guys that's been on scout team most of the year, a chance to really get some good work in. We had a freshman scrimmage, or kind of freshman red shirt scrimmage on Thursday that was really spirited. Guys had a lot of fun with that. Then the last thing we were able to do was get on the road and recruit a little bit. Get kind of early jump on the recruiting for 2018, and we're able to get out to some of the local high schools, even get up to the Dallas and East Texas area, see some junior colleges. So I thought we did a really good job of maximizing our time during the bye week, but we're excited to be back on the field this week, again, to get back on the playing field and try to get back into the win column.
Coach Simmons, for those fans who aren't familiar with Bacone, what have you seen from them on film? What are some things that they do well?
Well, you know what? They're a team that likes to pressure you. They're going to bring multiple pressures with their front seven. So they're going to challenge you outside to win one-on-one matchups, try to stop the run and make you throw the ball, which, for us has kind of been our Achilles heel this year. The teams that we've struggled against, Sam Houston, Grambling, Alcorn, were teams that played man, tried to take away the run, and forced us to beat them throwing the football. And, Alcorn, we were able to throw for 291 yards, but still complete less than 50% of our passes. So again, that's going to prove to be a tough challenge for us to be able to throw and catch, to win some one-on-one battles outside. But they do a really good job of that. And then on the offensive side of the ball, again, just trying to formation you and motion you and get you out-gapped and take advantage of mismatches on that side of the ball. So it'll be a good challenge for us, a team that we're not very familiar with. So we won't have many tendencies and things like that usually you get when you play conference schools. But again, they're a team like us. I mean, they're 2-4, I think, but their record is not indicative of the caliber of team that they are, because just like us, they play some ranked teams. I mean, Langston's a ranked team in their conference, in their division, and Wayland Baptist, I think, is ranked nationally in NAIA. So they play some really good competition as well. So our guys definitely can't go to sleep and think this is going to be a pushover game.
Now, Coach, it's homecoming week up there at Prairie View, and I have to say, Prairie View has one of the best homecomings I've ever been to.
The best.
The best. Okay, the best.
Get it right.
But what are some things that you really have to kind of guard against with your team during homecoming week?
Well, just the distractions. Of course, there are a lot of events that take place, a lot of things for the student body. So many positive things. I mean, there are a ton of positive things that take place on campus. They actually have a guest speaker on campus tonight. They raise a lot of awareness about a lot of social issues, things of that nature. So there are a lot of opportunities for our student athletes to enhance their collegiate experience during homecoming. But of course, again, one of the most well-respected and heavily attended homecoming in all of America, at
right.
level. So there are a lot of former students, former athletes, alum, and outsiders that are on campus this week. And so, you have those distractions. But, again, I think our guys understand the task at hand. We have a football game to prepare for, coming off of a bye week. So there are enough motivating factors for us to be locked in mentally this week to be able to go out there and have a good showing on Saturday.
Certainly. With that, Coach, I will be down there, as you know. But I'm not telling my friends when I'm getting down there because they'll be looking for the RV. Plus, I don't want my place of employment to understand when I plan to get down there. So I'm not going to announce this on the radio for everybody to go back and tell all the people I know. Did you know Dr. Cavill? No, I'm not going to do that this year. I learned a lesson.
I'm going to have to call in sick next
Shh, Coach, don't tell them my secret. But it's always a pleasure to get you on, Coach. Is anything else we should look at in terms of, from a fan's perspective, being in the stands, of some critical components of this game that we need to focus on that you can think of that we may want to key in on?
Well, I think for us it's just a matter of playing a sound football game from top to bottom. I think this will be a great week for us to put a full game together. Again, as we get ready for the remaining half of our schedule. There's a lot of good football left to be played. We have some tough opponents coming up, the rest of the season, and we still have a chance to have a really good season, a really respectable season. If we can finish this thing off the way that I think we're capable of doing, and then you look back on it and say, well, our only blemishes were to ranked teams and former champions, then I think everyone will understand that the program is progressing in the manner that we envisioned it going. So, but again, this weekend, I think you just hopefully look for Nico Hollins to continue to develop and grow as a quarterback. He's still a redshirt freshman quarterback that's only had one start under his belt. So his growth and development is going to be critical. We're getting guys back like Stephon McCray, who had to sit out last game, or who played a little bit, but was still nursing with growing. Okay. Josh Simmons sat out last game, because of a sprained foot. Stephen Guillory, who was starting a linebacker for us, has missed the last 3 or 4 weeks with the MCL sprain. Marquez Griffin, missed last week 2 weeks ago with a concussion. So Brilliant Taylor, the JC linebacker we signed, that's been out the last few weeks with injuries. So I think seeing those guys back in action is something I think our fans have to look forward to, and really seeing us be the explosive team that I think we're capable of being when everyone is healthy. And fortunately for us, we've been able to really get some guys back healthy during this bye week, and hopefully they can get back to the swing of things Saturday after missing 2 or 3 weeks due to injury.
Certainly, you kind of broke down what playing a tough schedule can do to a team. Going in, I don't know if next season, I think the schedule is pretty set, but going forward, do you go back and start looking at how do you maybe balance off the schedule? Not that you're not going to play those teams, but kind of separating them over the season if possible?
Well, I think the important thing is that you be strategic in how you schedule your bye weeks. Because, again, you look at it, had Hurricane Harvey not hit, we'd be 7 games in before our first bye week. And we'd be coming back looking at 4 games left. So our schedule was really front-loaded this season where we were going to play 7 games really before mid-October. And that's taxing, on these young men. And with limited, not with limited scholarship numbers as far as us, because we're fully funded, but in the overall scheme of things with NCAA, with reduced scholarship numbers across the board, reduced number of student athletes that they can have on the team across the board, reduced hours of work, you know, 20-hour rule and things of that nature. It really makes it challenging, you know, for teams to really be able to sustain themselves over the course of a 11, 12-game season. So whether it be us, you know, or even some, you know, FBS teams you talk to, I mean, we're all saying the same thing coming off a bye week. We need to get healthy. You know, again, looking at my alma mater, Clemson, I mean, they were rolling along until the quarterback goes down. Mm-hmm. And it really changes the landscape of your team. Wow. You're talking about, you know, you got one or two guys you feel comfortable with at a position, and one of those guys goes down. Now you're forced to play, you know, a guy the entire game. Then you add a component of special teams where he may be playing an extra 10 to 15 snaps a game on special teams, and now you're looking at guys playing over 100 snaps a game. And football's a very physical game. All the safety precautions that they've taken, it's still a very physical football game. I mean, they're still not going to change the fact that, you know, 300-pound guys are running full speed into one another. You know, so again, your body's going to be taxed. It's going to be banged up and sore and bruised and battered. And, you know, I haven't done the studies to know whether there are more MCLs and ACLs and, you know, than there have been in the past. You know, but again, I've seen across the country, even in NFL football, you've seen a lot of guys that are out for the season. Right. You know, and so again, it's just the game is always been a physical football game, and I think that's why a lot of people love it. That's why a lot of us play it, and we love it and embrace it. But that's part of it, you know. So as a coach, you try to prepare your team as much as possible to build depth. But again, those injuries can take a toll on you. So, but I don't know if there's an answer in the scheduling of it, other than, like you said, just trying to strategically place bye weeks, you know, periodically throughout the season, where maybe you're not playing so many games in back-to-back weeks as we did this year.
Makes sense. I appreciate that analysis and really going inside the look of what it takes to put a program together, to put a schedule together in terms of players and those nature. Coach, I know you got a lot of work you got to do this weekend, but you haven't come by my tailgate area. Now, I told you I'm not going to tell everybody where to come, but after you do your work, bring the family by. Come on by over and relax. I'll hit you offline because, again, I don't want all my friends knowing where I'm tailgating. I'm not putting it out there this year. I'm not going to do it. They keep hitting me. Kavil, I don't know yet. I don't know what. I hadn't gotten much lot yet.
Well, I tell you what, they'll build enough RVs out there for you to hide. It's really a spectacle. Anyone who's never been to a Prairie View homecoming or seen it, it is unbelievable. I mean, again,
that's right. Bring them out there.
Yeah, we didn't get the experience in our first year here because, of course, we were playing at Waller. But last season, I mean, I was blown away. Amazing. Of course, my wife went to FAMU, and of course, she's a Rattler, so you can tell her that FAMU doesn't have the livest homecoming ever. Mm-hmm. And she was calling all of her FAMU friends like, y'all never seen anything like this. It's truly a spectacle, and so I'm looking forward to it. Again, anybody who's in the area, even if you're not coming to the game, I encourage you to do come to the game, but if you can just come by Prairie View on Saturday afternoon, you will see something that you've never seen before. It's a great event, great time, a lot of great food and concerts and music and just camaraderie. It makes for a great day, you know. And again, so I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we can do our job on the field and make sure everyone is still happy at about 5:30 on Saturday night.
There you go, in a great football game to boot, to put it all and put the nice bow on that. With that, thank you for your time. Coach Simmons, Coach Willie Simmons, appreciate you calling in weekly. We look forward to getting an update next week and then following up as you said, going down the stretch of season, making everything work. It should be interesting to close out the season.
Yes,
we'll
all right, thank you guys. I look forward to seeing you this weekend, Doc.
Go Panthers.
Go Panthers.
Go Panthers.
Thank you. So it's really intriguing the way we looked at those matchups there closing up. And as you said, I'm going to tell him the side to give him a little history. I didn't want to toot my horn in there about the history of how the RV has come to be known as the RV. You're looking literally, for those watching them waving, you're looking at the individual that brought that first RV to campus.
That's awesome.
Many moons ago. Mm-hmm. And so those one of those proud legacies. You get a chance to do some things, and sometimes you're in the mix. You don't even know that you're doing it. Mm-hmm. You look back, and people come back and say thank you and different things of that nature. It's kind of cool to be a part of that footnote.
That's really cool.
Yeah, really cool. And to give a short story of what happened there. I was literally living in Alabama, took first job, was out in Alabama A&M, working in Decatur, Alabama. And colleague there went to Auburn, and he was like, come on down here, check out the game. And so obviously they had RVs and stuff like that. So I seen an RV, and it was great experience. I was like, man, I wonder if we could do that back at home. So I coming down 290, coming back to homecoming like I do every year. Had an RV lot. I pulled over, went into the RV, and asked him, do they rent the RVs? He said, no, sir. So I'm walking out, and just as I get the door, because I was going to close it, don't worry about it, he said, I think there's a place in like Cyprus that rents RVs. So okay, went to homecoming, got back that Monday. First thing I did, looked it up on the internet. You know, at that time you start the internet, but called and said, yeah, we rent RVs. As soon as the schedule came out the next year, that summer, locked it in. Mm-hmm. First year I drove around. This is how nuanced and let you know that I'm really serious about coming down there. Had no really business to understand how you do the RV. So I'm driving around, Prairie View, RVs, going to the party. Everybody's loving it. I go to a party out in Hockley, got trees on the side, don't pay attention, scratch the side of the RV, lose my security deposit. Yeah. I was like, man, I'm not doing this again. A couple of folks said, man, that was great, bring the RV back. Let's do it again. So I decided, all right, people, put in the money. So I get the RV. This time, you know, you learn from your mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. So I park it. They just paved the parking lot in front of the Baby Dome. They had just put up the new Tempton facility. And so we park it right there. They have the step show coming up. So people come out of the step show. We have a pit. We start cooking, and it just becomes wow. what it is now in a lot of ways. Next, you see another RV and multiple RVs. And then people started having to pay in to park the RV. Yeah. There's more, and then they had to find a place to do it. Mm-hmm. Then they have a grass lot. We build the new stadium, and all of a sudden they said, we're going to have a paved lot with electrical breakers and everything. Mm-hmm. That's where you have it. That's the story of the RV.
Those little stories that make up the HBCU experience that are awesome. I met this past weekend the person who actually coined the phrase boombox.
Wow!
And he listened to the show, so shout out to Gerard Howard. He runs cool. March and Sport website. So, but he actually on a bah humbug started to coin the phrase boombox. So it went from there. So you know, it's those little tidbits, you know, that kind of bring out the HBCU athletic experience that I so do enjoy. I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, that's awesome to get that kind of news, like you said, and just pick up on what's going on out there in the landscape. Let's go over this top 10 as we come up to the close of the show. Looking at the major division, dropping out of this week is Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, as they have a tough matchup in regards to their tough loss. Boy, I tell you, that was a tremendous game against North Carolina A&T. They gave A&T everything they wanted. Had the lead late in the game, and actually A&T had to score off a trick play to go up. But that lets you know when you tend to be a good team, you tend to find ways to win, and they did that when you look at North Carolina A&T. So credit to them in terms of what's going on. We have a scoring update?
No, I want to just add something to your program.
Please
one of the icons of football at Bethune-Cookman passed.
Oh,
yeah,
little?
Big Willie Lee.
Big Willie Lee.
Oh, wow. Willie Lee passes at, I want to say 67 years old, or young. And I don't know if he had been ill. He coached there after playing. Yeah. And years ago, they came here and played in what was known as the double bump, Texas Southern against Bethune-Cookman. Rod Page was coaching. And you had Prairie View, I think, played Southern that afternoon at Rice Stadium. And the coach from Bethune-Cookman was Coach Charles Moore.
Yeah,
the president's son at the president's son.
Yeah, it's a great history there.
Wow.
So some young reporter went up to him and asked him, could he coach against the SWAC coaches before the game started? So he said, ask me that question after the game, after you see Willie Lee play.
Wow.
And
enough said.
And Willie Lee had a hell of a game, and Bethune-Cookman won the game. So the reporter reluctantly went up to him, and he said, can I coach in the SWAC? Can I coach against SWAC coaches in that? The reporter said, yes, sir.
Now,
I'll let you guess who the reporter was.
We're looking at And number 10, you have Norfolk State, the Spartans. They were not ranked, but after their huge upset as they get it done against North Carolina Central, again, jumping out 21-7, finding a way to hold on as they win 28-21. Latrell Scott, coach there, great job on that victory. 3-4, 3-1 on the season. Bring us to number 9. Alabama A&M Bulldogs, 3-4, 3-1, quietly getting it done, getting the wins they're supposed to get the wins. they'll get a chance to make their statement to see if they can find a way to get to Houston and play in the championship game, and you'll take your chances there. Number 8, as you said, this team just continues to fall. Tough weekend for Tennessee State, 4-3, 1-3. As they move in there, they do step up by week, but they're just struggling.
Yeah.
Can they find a way to get back on the winning streak? Like you said, offense just not getting it done. At number 7, Alcorn State Braves, they fall 3 spot. They kind of go back and forth with that, play some big games, tough losses, but they've actually had a really tough schedule in the East in regards, similar to Prairie, what they've done in the West, and they've kind of went back and forth. They had the big wins over Southern and Prairie View and a tough loss over Grambling. One more they got to get against Alabama A&M to see if they can find a way to get back here. We'll see. At number 6, North Carolina Central, they finally fall out of that 3 spot with that tough loss. 18-game win streak in the MEAC is over. That means only Grambling continues to have that long winning streak. Should be interesting to see. As you thought possibly those teams would face out. Central says, don't worry, we still have our shot at A&T at the end of the season. We shall see. Top 5 programs. Howard Bison, they continue to get it done. They find a way back in the top 5. It's going to be interesting at the end of the year. Is this a team? It looks like they're going to obviously be in the top 10. But can they find a way in the top 5 as they are now? Howard Bison 4-3, 3-1. Big win over the rival in that DMC area, as they say, against Morgan State. They got it done close early, and then they pulled away. Big plays as Kayla Newton continues to get it done. At number 4, Southern Jaguars 4-3, 2-1. They do what they're supposed to do against their rival. They go on the road, get it done, make a statement as they're saying, hey, Grambling is not in the championship game yet. We still have a point to prove in the Bayou Classic to see if we can get it done. They do have to have that matchup against Prairie View.
Yeah.
They have the 1 loss already against Alcorn, so they cannot afford to get a second loss. But that Bayou Classic is just going to be for pride only. Right. So they have to find a way first to get through Prairie View, which should be an interesting matchup because Prairie View is going to want to find a way to finish strong and see if they can get to that winning record at the end of the season. So that should be a good matchup in terms of seeing where teams are. Are they going to push Grambling in terms of the West, or is Prairie View going to show that, yeah, we may be behind Grambling, but we're going to be above Southern? So that's something to keep your eyes on. Top 3, this is going to be a surprise to you. Hampton Pirates move up 2 spots. They continue to do what's necessary. 5-2, 4-0. They hadn't played necessarily the toughest part of the schedule, but credit to them for getting the victories when they're supposed to. They had a tough game against FAMU, and FAMU Relics, after starting off pretty early of being able to make some statements as they close out on the season, kind of faltering again. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how the fans look at the Rattlers in terms of the season. Did they take that next step? Or do many people believe they're in the same position or worse, obviously regressing? So that was a tough loss for the Rattlers and a big win for the Pirates, so you have to give them credit for getting that done. Meaning we get to number 2. Grambling State Tigers are 5 first place votes, 6-1, 3-0. Very solid in terms of what they've done this season. Non-conference win, undefeated in the conference play. They continue to move forward and get it done. Bringing us to North Carolina A&T, the Aggies at 8-0, 5-0, 7 first place votes. And it looks like this is going to be the Celebration Bowl. Kind of mapped it up in terms of driver's seat. We still have the second half of the season to close things out. Yeah. So it's not over, folks, but certainly the early teams, as we said, driving those SUVs, A&T and Grambling, respectively, in the MEAC and SWAC between those programs. So I'm intrigued. I'm excited about what's going to go down this season and see who gets in celebration. As people know, my stuff is already booked. We're actually putting the HBCU art licensing together for students to get involved with the Celebration Bowl. So we'll be interested in making that play off. So again, break down the top 10. Let me know what do you think about the top 10, big games, or anything of that nature, or some teams that see out of order in terms of how they ranked in the top.
Well, I take a look at Hampton at number 3. Huge matchup this weekend. They go to Daytona, take on Bethune-Cookman. We saw what Bethune did on the road. 2
private schools.
Yeah, on the road against North Carolina A&T. So, like you said, Hampton is now starting to get to that tough part of that schedule. So, are they for real? Tough game against
they get to make a solid statement
Florida
with this.
A&M. Southern. They did what they were supposed to do against Jackson State. They go up to Pine Bluff this weekend. Trappy to me because you might have a tendency to play down to Arkansas Pine Bluff. Tough game on the road, but I expect Southern to do what they do. I sure wish I could see Howard in North Carolina A&T this year. That would have been a good, a real nice matchup to watch those two lock horns. Kayla Newton going against always tough North Carolina A&T defense, but it is what it is.
Not to be this year.
Not to be this
Hopefully
year.
we'll get that in a couple of years as both teams continue to play solid football and see who joins them. Anything else before we close the show?
Well, great action this weekend. When I initially looked on the schedule, I saw Southern, Jackson State, and Alcorn Grambling, and just thought it was going to be a real huge weekend in the SWAC, but not really. Grambling did what they were supposed to do. Jackson State going in a completely opposite direction. Southern came in and did what they were supposed to do. So this upcoming week, I'm really intrigued at these matchups. Magic City Classic, Alabama A&M and Alabama State.
Got to give some love to that game.
Love to the Magic City Classic.
Biggest tailgate event for HBCU football. If you hadn't put that on your bucket list, you got to do it. You got to get to the game. Just as many people outside the stadium as inside the stadium. Some say maybe more outside the stadium tailgating before they go in there.
Albany State and Benedict. That's another one I'm going to keep my eye out on this weekend as well.
Good call on that game. Great matchup in regards to a feature matchup that you want to keep close in terms of that. With that, I am Dr. J. Kenyatta Coville, a sports professor with Mike Washington Charles Bishop. As we come to close, we hope you enjoyed our conversation with Coach Willie Simmons of Prairie View A&M University football and Coach Mike Haywood of Texas Southern University football. We want to thank you for listening to Dr. Coville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday from 5:45 to 7:15 right here on KCUH TV 92.9 FM HD2, The Vein, where we're pumping your system in the historic KCUH studio in Houston, Texas, www.kcuh-tv.com. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Coville, on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil. That's DrKenyattaCavil. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Course lecture dismissed.